Yes, hello Israel. This is Danny Israel from Israel Vineyard. I'm here to bring you another lesson. See if we can get some understanding. And the name of the lesson is Stop That. Stop Those Thieves. Stop Those Thieves. Um, it's a sin. Stealing is a sin. And there's so much robberies and people breaking in people's houses and just a lot of stealing going on. Even I was watching the news and I think it was this elderly was at home and he hears some his the lock his door rattling, like somebody ready to break in, and he shouts through the door, don't come in, don't come in, I have a gun. But these thieves were so bold that they didn't care. And so I think they pushed his door in, and as they pushed the door in, the guy fired off a shot from a shotgun and blast one of the guys back through the door, and everybody ran. And so these days, these thieves, they don't care. If you're home, it doesn't matter. They're coming in. And so we're going to go through these scriptures and see what the Lord say about thieves. We're going to start this off in Exodus 22, 2-4. It says, if a thief be found breaking in and be smitten, meaning, if you break in and you get injured or something like that, that he die. If he gets smitten, that he die. There shall no blood be shed for him. You hear that? It says, if a thief break in and he gets smitten and he dies, there shall be no blood shed for him. Meaning that good ridden. He says, don't shed no tear for him. Don't cry for him. That's what it says. Then verse 3 says, if the sun be risen upon him, there shall be bloodshed for him. So if he breaks in and he gets smitten and he doesn't die, it says, if the sun rise and he's still alive, there should be bloodshed for him. For he should make full restitution. So if he gets caught, full restitution. I remember some time ago, they said that this guy, he was stealing and he fell through the roof. Imagine, he fell through the roof of the place that he went to rob, and turned around and sued the people in because he got injured and won. Just some ridiculous nonsense. This guy break in and he fell and he was able to sue and win because he got injured. It says, if he have nothing, then he shall be sold for his theft. You hear that? So if he gets smitten and the sun rise and he's still alive, and he has nothing, he can't pay for what, for that robbery. It says he should be sold. Verse 4, if the thief be certainly found, if the theft, meaning the stuff that he stole, he said, if the theft be certainly found in his hand alive. Oh, okay, no. It says, so if the thief be certainly found in his hand alive, meaning if he break in somewhere and he's found alive in thing after he gets smitten, it says, whether it be ox or ass or sheep, he shall restore double. So he should repay double for what he stole. All right, next, let's go to Jeremiah 2:26. It says, as the thief is ashamed when he is found, because you got people out there breaking in people's house and doing all the stealing, and then when they finally get caught, they're ashamed. They're hiding their face, they're ducking down, they're putting the jacket over their face and all this nonsense. But when they was doing it, everything was okay. so is the house of Israel ashamed. And it's talking about something else. It says, so is the house of Israel ashamed. They, their kings, their princes, and their priests, and their prophets, because they all steal. Let's go Isaiah 1 and 23. It reads, the princes are rebellious and companions of thieves. He saw, who are your princes? The people who rule. He said they are rebellious and companions of thieves. He saw they're friends with thieves. They may not be the one who might go to your door and steal something, but they rob the community of money, they take bribes, they do all this stuff. So that's what it's talking about here. He said everyone love a gift. You hear that? Everyone love a gift, and that's what they do. They take gifts to turn their back on certain things, or they take gift to, to take money from one and give to the next. It says and follow it after rewards, because that's what they do. That's why they do all this thieving and backbiting behind closed doors, because they want money, they want rewards. Then it says, they judge not the fatherless, neither do it the cause of the widows to come unto them. And that's it. They turn you away. When you try to come for help, they turn you away. They don't want to deal with you. But behind your back, they'll steal everything you have. Let's go to Proverbs 1. Proverbs 1, 10 to 16. It reads, my son, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not. So it says, if these evil people try to get you to follow them, it says, don't do it. It says, if they say, come with us, let us lay wait for blood, because that's what they do. They ambush you, and they wait in the dark and rob you and stuff like that. It says, let us lurk privately for the innocent without a cause. See, that's what they do. Privately meaning they hide and wait for you and then ambush you. It said, let us swallow them up, alive as the graves, and whole as those that go down into the pit. We shall find all precious substance, because that's what they do. They're looking for all your precious stuff, your big screen TV, your gold, the things you work hard for. That's what they do. And then it says, we shall fill our houses with spoil. That's what they do. They steal all your stuff and fill their house with all of it. Cast in thy lot among us. Let us all have one purse. That's what they do. They go in, and all of them, they put it in their bags and take your stuff. It says, my son, walk not thou in the way with them. So Jesus is telling you, don't follow them. Don't follow these thieves. Then it says, refrain thy foot from their path. And the reason he's telling you that, because it could cause you your life. So he's saying, don't follow them. It says, for their feet run to evil. That's what it does. Their feet run to evil. They want to go and steal and rob and do all this evil. And then it says, and make haste to shed blood, because this, the people got this saying or whatever. But if you will rob and steal, you will kill. And a lot of times, people end up dying because somebody break in the home and they try to defend themselves or defend the property. All right. Let's go to Amos 8 and 5. It says, saying, when will the new moon be gone, that we may sell corn? No. No, I'm going to skip over that one. Let's go to Matthew 21 and 12. Matthew 21 and 12. And it reads, And Jesus went into the temple of God and cast out all them that sold and bought in the temple. So this is church he's talking about. And they might not be selling I remember I was going to the Sunday church, and that's what they was doing inside the church. They was selling, they got breakfast, they got, all the stuff selling there. And so if you follow the Sabbath, you can't do none of that stuff. But you got these Sunday church, and they're selling coffee, and they're selling all the stuff inside the church. And so Jesus was upset because they were doing all this in the church, and then he said, and overthrew the tables of the money changers and the seats of them that sold doves, and said unto them, It is written, My house shall be called a house of prayer, because that's what a church is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a place of prayer. But ye have made it a den of thieves. You heard what he said? They made it a den of thieves because what they were doing inside the church. All right, let's go to John 7 and 11. John 12 and 6. John 12 and 6. It says, This he said, not that he cared for the poor, but because he was a thief, and had the bag and bare what was put therein. And this was Judas when he betrayed the Lord. But it was saying that because he said, okay, let me back it up to, I'll back it up to verse 3. It says, Then took Mary a pound of ointment of spikenard, very costly. So Mary had took this ointment that was expensive, and anointed the feet of Jesus. So she took the oil and put it on his feet, anointed his feet, and wiped his feet with her hair. And the house was filled with the odor of the ointment. So it was a pretty, it smelled nice, right? And so she anointed his foot. Verse 4, Then said one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, which should betray him, Why was not this ointment sold for 300 pence and given to the poor? You hear that? He's saying, well, why wasn't it sold for 300 and give it to the poor? But here, what it said in verse 6, This he said, not that he cared for the poor, because this is what the thief does do. When they don't get it, when they don't get the spoil or the thing that they want, they will come up with something and say, well, why didn't this happen? Why didn't this happen? But they're not saying this because they really care. They're saying it because they didn't get it. And the same thing here. He's saying why they didn't sell this and give it to the poor. But he don't care about the poor. He care about himself. And so here, let me finish it. But it says, but because he was a thief, and that's how thieves think, and because he was a thief and had the bag, because he was the accountant, he was the one that dealt with the money. And then it says, and that's how thieves are. They want it all for themselves. You know what I'm saying? That's how they think. They don't even, you're doing your stealing and what you're doing, but you're so greedy. That's how all the thieves be getting caught, because they're so greedy. and had the bag, and bare what was put therein. Then said Jesus, let her alone. Against the day of my burial had she kept this. For the poor always ye have with you, but me ye have not always. So, all right, next let's go John 10 and 8. Let me read verse 7. Then said Jesus unto them again, verily, verily, I say unto you, I am the door of the sheep. And then verse 8 says, all that ever came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the door. By me, if any man enter in, he shall be saved, and shall go in and out and find pasture. And then verse 10. So here's what the thief does. He says, the thief cometh not, but for to steal. That's what the thief come to do, to steal and to kill. So you hear, if you're a thief, he says you come to steal and to kill. That's what thieves do. Because so they don't be caught, they will kill. And then it says, and to destroy. That's what thieves do. They destroy, because when they break in your house, what does the house look like? It's destroyed, because they ransack everything. They break this and they do that, and so it's destroyed. I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. All right. All right, let's see here. Let's go to Genesis 31 and 19. Genesis 31 and 19. It says, and this is Laban and Rachel. It says, and Laban went to shear her sheep. She went to cut the hair and the sheep. And Rachel had stolen the images that were her father's. And that's what people do. Sometimes you got people close to you, and when you turn your back, they steal what you have. Let's go to Proverbs 6, 30 to 31. It says, verse 30, it says, men, do not despise a thief if he steals to satisfy his soul when he is hungry. And so he says, he's telling us, don't despise a thief if he steals, because he needs to satisfy his hunger. It's still an excuse, but he says, if a man steals because he's hungry, he said, don't despise him. But if he be found, so he's not letting you off the hook, but he says, if you get caught, he shall restore sevenfold. So if you get caught, you steal one bread, you pay back 7 more bread. He says, and he shall give all the substance of his house. You hear that? So he got to repay back with everything that he owns. All right. Let's go Proverbs 20 and 18. He says, every purpose is established by counsel, and with good advice make war. Let's back it up. Proverb 10, 2 and 3. It says treasures of wickedness profit nothing. So he says that stuff that people break in and steal, it profit nothing. But righteousness delivereth from death. From which death? The lake of fire, that death. All right, let's go to Hosea 12. Hosea 12, 6 and 8. Hosea 12. Hosea 12, 6 to 8. It says, therefore, turn thou to thy God, keep mercy and judgment, and wait on thy God continually. That's what it says. Turn from that wickedness that you do. Turn to God. Then it says, he is a merchant. So, a merchant is somebody who owns a business, and sells stuff. It says the balances of deceit are in his hand. And so he says that he's the one that could judge, the evildoer. He loveth to oppress. Let's go to Leviticus 19 and 13. It says, thou shalt not defraud thy neighbor, neither rob him. The wages of him that is hired shall not abide with thee all night until the morning. And so he said, don't rob your neighbor. And this ain't even talking about your neighbor next door. Your neighbor could be anybody. Let's go Proverbs 11 and 1. You see, a false balance is abomination to the Lord. You saw a false balance, meaning that, say, use the treasury and you know that you guys raised $100,000, but you said, oh yeah, we only raised 90,000, and you put the rest in your pocket. That's a false balance. And then he says, but a just weight is his delight. But he says that if the truth is his delight. It says, verse 4, let me jump into verse 4. It says, riches profit not in the day of wrath. So he says, when that day of wrath, when he's paying back for people what they do, he said, riches, money, it can't help them. It says, but righteousness delivereth from death. So you hear that? So doing the right thing is what's going to deliver you from death. Let's go. Exodus 21 and 16. Exodus 21 and 16. It says, and he that stealeth a man, meaning what's the word? Kidnap. It says, and if he that stealeth a man, and when he say man, it could be woman, it could be children, it could be, they got these slave trade and you got all this stuff. And so he says here, he that stealeth a man and selleth him, because that's what they do, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. And so he said, people that do this stuff, he said, they will be put to death when he comes. They may not be put to death in this life. Some get caught, some don't. But when he comes, You know, everybody was doing this stuff. They're going to be put to death in that lake of fire. Let's go Deuteronomy 24:7. Deuteronomy 24:7. It says, if a man be found stealing any of his brethren of the children of Israel, that's the same thing as the kidnap, and make it merchandise of him and sells him, or sell it him, same thing, then that thief shall die, and thou shalt put evil away from among you. And that's what we do. Israel, sometimes you go into the neighborhood and people see you and they ain't pay attention to you because you blend in. And the next thing, children come up missing. And so this here, he's saying that we do this. But he said that you will be put to death. All right, let's go Proverb 29. Proverbs 29, we're going to do 24 to 25. It says, whoso is partner with a thief had hated his own soul. He says that so them people who partner with a thief, he said they hate their own soul. They hate themselves. That's what it says. And then he says, he heareth cursing, and bewrayeth it not. Uh, 25. The fear of man bringeth a snare, but whoso putteth his trust in the Lord shall be safe. All right, let's go into Proverbs 50. That will be Psalms 50, 17 and 18. It says, seeing thou hatest instruction. So he's talking about the thief. They hate when somebody tell them, stop doing that, or they know they're not doing right. And then he says, and castest my word behind thee. And destruction is the word from this Bible. He said they put it behind them because they don't want to hear it. He says 18, when thou sawest a thief, it says, so when you see a thief, then thou consentest with him. And that's what they do. When they see the thief, they join with him. And has been partakers with adulterers. All right, Galatians 6. And verse 7. It says, be not deceived, God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. There's no one here that's saying anything about karma. But this is almost saying the same thing. Because what they say karma is, when you do something, it comes back to you. But that's exactly what they're saying. It says, be not deceived, God is not mocked. He said, because God, he knows all the stuff that you're doing. It says, for whatsoever a man do it. He said, whatever you do, he said, that also shall come back to you. You shall reap what you sow. Numbers 32. Numbers 32 and verse 23. It says, but if ye will not do so, behold, ye have sinned against the Lord, and be sure your sin will find you out. So so in other words, the people who stealing and doing, he said that same thing is what's going to make you get caught. And sometimes people do all these sins and all these different things, right? And sometimes it's big and they get away with it. But when they get caught, sometimes it's the simplest thing is what make them get caught. And they be like, oh man, I did this real bad thing and got away with it. But this simple thing is the one that got me. That's what he says. Let's go Ezekiel 33. Ezekiel 33, 15 and 16. And 16. It says, if the wicked restore the pledge, give again that he had robbed. So he says, if a thief gives back what he's restore what he robbed. He says, walk in the statutes of life. And then he says, if you follow the commandments without committing any sin, he said, he shall surely live. He shall not die. And it's possible that you could die in this life, but he said you shall live, talking about when he comes. Meaning that you will live in the kingdom. You will live and not die. He says, none of his sin that he had committed shall be mentioned unto him. So you hear that? He says, even if he did his steal and he did whatever he did, he said if he turned back and restore what he did and he followed the commandments and do them, he says that it won't be remembered. He won't remember it. That's because you got that long suffering. You got this God that judges in righteousness. If it was man, what do you do? You break in somebody's house and you get killed, they want to string you up. But the Lord is long suffering and he wants everybody to come to repentance. He don't want nobody to die. He said, he had done that which is lawful and right, he shall surely live. All right, let's go Psalms 32. Psalms 32, 4 and 5. It says, for day and night my hand was heavy upon me. My moisture is turned into the drought of summer, Selah. I acknowledge my sin unto thee, and my iniquities have I not hid. And so he's talking about here, this David, that he said his sin, his thing, he asked for forgiveness. He went to the Lord and confessed his sin. And he said, I will confess my transgression. See, that's what he said. I will confess my sin. I will tell you what I've done. The Lord know what you've done, but it take a big man to go and confess and say, hey, I've done this. And then he says, and thou forgavest the iniquity of my sin. So you see that? So because he went and asked the Lord and confessed his sin, the Lord forgave him. You could do the same thing if you're a thief. And he will forgive you, but you have to stop and don't do it anymore. All right. Let's go into Ephesians 4 and 28. It says, let him that stole steal no more, but rather let him labor. He says, you who's a thief and who steal, he says, stop doing that. He says, go and get a job. Go and work. And then he says, working with his hand, the things which is good. Because when you work for it, it's a good thing. that he may have to give to him that needeth. And so he says, you go and work. But he didn't even say work for you. He said work so you could give to somebody who is in need. All right. Let's go 1 John 2. First John 2, 3-6. He says, and hereby we do know that we know him if we keep his commandments. So he says that we know him if we keep his commandments. And then he says, he that said, I know him and keepeth not his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. And so if you're a thief and you say, yeah, I know Jesus, but you don't do it, he says you're a liar. He says, but whosoever keepeth his word. So if he said don't steal and you don't steal, he says, in him verily is the love of God perfected. Hereby know we that we are in him. And so if we do his commandments and follow his commandments, he said that we are in him. Let's go John 12. John 12, 4 and 6. It says, then said one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot. I read this one already. Let's go to Obadiah. Obadiah. That's the book just before Matthew. Obadiah. Last book in the Old Testament. Obadiah. Obadiah. Obadiah 1, 4-6. He says, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, said the Lord. Because that's what they do. He says, if thieves came to thee, if robbers by night, how art thou cut off? Would they not have stolen till they have enough? So he's saying here, that's what thieves do. They'll steal until they have, enough of something until it's time to go. And then he says, if the grape gatherers came to thee, would they not leave some grapes? So even if you know, just like an orange picker, if you're picking, he said, won't they leave some on the tree? How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? Let's go to John 10. John 10, 6-8. It says, this parable spake Jesus unto them, but they understood not what thing they were which he spake unto them. He said he spoke to them, but they didn't understand the thing that he speak to them, that he was saying to them. Then Jesus said unto them, verily, verily, I say unto you, I am the door of the sheep. All that ever came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. All right, let's go to Isaiah 1 and 21. It says, how is the faithful city become a harlot? It was full of judgment, righteousness lodged in it, but now murderers, because they were saying that the city was good before, but now it has whores and unrighteousness. It says, thy silver is become dross, thy wine mixed with water. It said, thy princes are rebellious and companion of thieves. Everyone loveth gifts, followed after reward, they judge not the fatherless. Neither do it the cause of the widows come unto them. Let's go to Jeremiah 48. Jeremiah 48 and 26. It says, make ye him drunken, for he magnify himself against the Lord. Moab also shall wallow in his vomit, and he also shall be in derision. For was not Israel a derision unto thee? Was he found among thieves? For since thou speakest of him, thou skippest for joy. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 6. We're going to read 9 to 11. 1 Corinthians 6. It says, no, this is what the Lord is saying about certain people. He says, know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of God? Be not deceived, neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, nor abusers of themselves with mankind, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of God. Romans 13 and 9. This is another list of people who is not going to inherit the kingdom. He says, for this thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, thou shalt not covet. And if there be any other commandment, it is briefly comprehended in this saying, namely, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. And so these were the commandments he was saying. Let's read two more scriptures. Matthew 15. Matthew 15, 17 to 19. It says, do not ye yet understand? So he's saying, don't you understand by now? He says that whosoever entereth, so whatsoever enter in at the mouth goeth into the belly. So he says, whatever you eat, it goes in your belly, and it's cast out into the draught. It comes out in your poop. And then he says, but those things which proceed out of the mouth come forth from the heart. So he said the things that you speak, the words that come out of your thinking, come out of your mind. And they defile the man. So he said those thinking is what defile the man, not the thing that you ate and came out your poop. He says, for out of the heart proceedeth evil thoughts. So out of your mind, evil thoughts, murderers, adulterers, fornicators, thieves, false witness, blasphemes. These are the things which defile a man. So he tells you these are the things that defile a man, not the food that go in your mouth. But to eat with unwashed hands defile not the man. So you take up a piece of meat and your hands dirty, you didn't wash it. He said that's not what defile you. What defile you is the evil thoughts, the evil thing that come out your mouth, that come out your mind. All right, the last one, Exodus 21 and 16. It says, and he that stealeth a man. Yes. Yeah. Okay, so that was the last one because I've read that. And so that's the end of the lesson. But there's all this stealing and all this robbery and all this stuff that's going on. You know, people being held at gunpoint and people breaking in people's home even when they're home and stealing, and some people end up dying. And the Lord said that you that steal, that you will die. If you don't die in this life because of that, you will die in that second death, the lake of fire. And so he said that if you restore what you have steal and follow the commandments and do right, then he will forget. He won't forget. He will forget all that you have done. And then he said that you will live. So my name is Donnie Israel from Israel Vineyard, and I hope you get some understanding.